When health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself. Art cannot manifest. Strength cannot fight. Wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied. FBSN presents The Health Wave. Maximum information for making wise health and lifestyle decisions.
Welcome to FBSN. A winning athlete must eat mostly plants, says Dr. John McDougall. Under his guidance, a runner, Carl Lewis, adopted a plant-based diet in order to prepare himself for the World Olympic Championship in 1991. Sure enough, upon excellent performance, Carl won 9 Olympic gold medals. Later, he'll say that his first year on a vegan diet was the most successful in his entire career in terms of performance. Must say that our reverence for animal protein is so ingrained in us that this question is asked, even where's my protein, is asked even by professionals whenever there is a chance to do so. Yet many athletes are trading meat protein for bananas, believe it or not. My name is Victoria Barayev, you're at the Health Wave, and I have this most bothering question: where do I get my protein if I'm into fitness and health? To answer this question, I invited a personal trainer, plant-based personal trainer, and a health coach, Shimon Weissman.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I think you enjoy this topic, don't you?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So me too, because I'm asked about protein all the time. So especially people who are in fitness, they want to know what are the healthier sources of protein,
right?
Because they know that animal protein may not be the best source for considering health-wise. So they want to know what are better sources of protein if you are on a plant-based diet. What do you tell people when they ask you?
Excellent question. Definitely, I'm very interested and involved in making sure that my body is fueled properly when I'm exercising 5 times a week, and also that I have the building blocks to build new muscle and sustain speed, agility, and strength. So that being said, some of the sources that I rely on for protein are things like nuts. So perhaps the best example is pumpkin seeds. They have 9 grams per quarter of a cup, and all other nuts like pecans, almonds, walnuts are excellent sources, together with whole grains. Whole grain, whole wheat bread is actually a good source, and it actually is prevalent in most of the nutrient-dense foods that we eat, such as beans, legumes, and even mushrooms and vegetables. Percentage-wise towards their calories are 35% protein. So really you have a wealth of options, and just making sure that you're eating a full and balanced, nutrient-dense diet will provide you with more than adequate fuel to perform at a high level.
So you're not eating any animal food?
Correct.
Just to clarify.
Yes.
So you chose this non-traditional style of, leading an athletic lifestyle, right, basically. How did you come to this revelation?
That's a great question. Definitely, I was a personal trainer before I was into nutrient-dense foods, before I realized the importance of health in training. So it came along the process of always trying to be a better personal trainer to help people lose the appropriate weight for themselves, or get to the appropriate weight for their bodies, and to perform well and be healthy. And that really was what caused me to take to it. When I realized that, okay, you can train really hard, and you can build strong muscles, but one thing you can't do is you can't out-train your mouth. You can't outwork a bad diet. And that's really what got me researching health on a personal trainer level, to build muscle and also for longevity and vigor through life.
Now, was it scary to make a change?
Actually, I felt it was a lot more exciting than scary. Now, I definitely encountered a lot of difficulties and challenges along the way, and we'll definitely get to that towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about it now.
Okay,
so
sure.
I want to know now. How difficult was it to change?
Sure. So the main difficulty really involved wasn't that it's incredibly hard to eat healthy food. It really was the question of the sources for it. Now, we're all raised on the way we were fed, the way our mothers cooked, our friends cooked, our grandparents, and that's the dishes that we know of. So it's very hard to go from, let's say, your grandma's favorite minute roast and then all of a sudden find brand new dishes out of nowhere. And that was very difficult for us. So it definitely, there was a period of transition of about 2 months where progressively we learned more, and definitely having a friend to help give us recipes and give us encouragement helped us go through that difficult transition phase. Now there is one more difficulty, and that is the taste buds are conditioned a lot differently when you're on a SAD, a standard American diet, and then you go ahead and you try to switch to a vegan or nutritarian diet. It's very difficult to immediately find foods that are going to give you that sense of comfort that maybe the foods are used to you. So you have to have a certain vision and realization and a goal to get you through and know that your taste buds will change, and that the sweetness of maple syrup or the sweetness of the General Chow's chicken that you loved, that's going to start tasting foul to you, and then you'll start be able to taste this light textures of mushrooms and the crunch of celery and stuff like that, where all these nuanced flavors become very exciting.
Well, initially change is always uncomfortable.
For sure.
Yeah, but then eventually if you stick to it, it's going to become part of you.
Right, absolutely.
Correct. So, where do you get your energy to train if you don't eat animal protein? I'm sure many people want to know that.
Right, great question. People do want to know that because nobody's advocating for training when you're feeling lethargic or when you can't do a push-up or a pull-up. So definitely making sure you have requisite energy is vital. So eating nutrient-dense foods, actually, I found, has given me more energy than the foods that I was eating in the past. Now,
let's clarify.
Sure.
You're saying nutrient-dense foods. What are nutrient-dense foods?
So nutrient-dense foods are foods that have very powerful amounts of phytochemicals, micronutrients per calorie. And so they're having lower fat content, lower calorie content per calorie than some of the foods you may be used to. So the chief of the list are probably things like cruciferous greens. So we talk about red cabbage, bok choy, arugula, watercress, baby spinach, all these type of things are really, kale, are excellent choices that pack a huge punch for the amount of calories they're giving.
So I also wanted to add to this that there are 3 sources of fuel or energy for us in terms of macronutrients, right? We know carbohydrates, we know proteins and fats, right? So the source of fuel for the human body would be carbohydrates, right? Not protein or fat.
Right.
So we turn to fat and protein in the times when there's famine or when there is not enough food available, right? So then protein can convert into carbohydrates in the body, right? Into glucose, but fat doesn't convert into that. So fat actually gives you fuel, but in other, it's like metabolic dollar, right? So it turns into ketones, which is also like a substitute for also gives us fuel. So, but we tend to use those sources only during the time when there's not enough food available. So we need to rely on carbohydrates, correct?
Correct.
So that's an important point. We need to remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, continue. You were talking about where you get your sources of energy.
So that's just one great source, because I think it's very hard to meet people that don't meet their macronutrient levels to train and have energy. Most likely, what's making people not have energy are very high fat foods, fried foods, empty calories such as white bread or white rice or donuts. And actually, if you pack a punch with nutrient-dense foods such as carrots, legumes, whole grains, sweet potatoes, and the cruciferous greens that I mentioned, you actually, I feel like I have a tremendous amount of energy to train, more so than I did before.
Absolutely. So we don't want to stick to the processed foods, right, as a sources of
100%.
carbohydrate, but we can stick to the high glycemic foods, and that's what athletes do usually. So what is the minimum protein level we need to train? Do you know that?
Great question. So the RDA and the WHO, World Health Organization, recommend 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and a kilogram is about 2.2 pounds. And so what that would look like for me, I weigh 144.5 pounds, so that would be about 70 grams of protein a day. Now, I never measure in a cup to make sure I'm getting enough protein, because what I found is that if you're eating nutrient-dense foods, you naturally are just going to get that, easily reach that margin. Now, some great tools that I use for that are, like I mentioned, nuts are very high in that, whole grains, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very good. I can actually add to that there's no people who would be protein deficient, right? So people could be carbohydrate deficient simply because of the wrong guidance of the modern professionals, because they believe that we need to rely on protein more as a source of energy and not carbohydrates. Everyone's afraid of the word carbohydrate.
Right.
But if your body can easily run out of this fuel, of carbohydrate fuel, if you only rely on fat and protein pretty quickly. And that's how people start feeling more lethargic and tired. So, but virtually it's impossible to be protein deficient.
Right. I think Dr. Garth Davis mentioned, he's a heart doctor. He performs heart surgeries as well as weight loss. And he said he never had a client that had a protein deficiency. And these are people with heart disease. These are not healthy people.
Correct.
People that are on even a remotely healthy diet, and certainly on a healthy diet, have no problem reaching protein requirements.
And how do you grow muscle if you don't eat animal protein? Yeah,
so
that's what many people want to know.
Sure. So you grow muscle by performing very effective exercises, like high-intensity exercises that are athletic, compound movements, things where you're moving around in space, where you're standing or you're rotating your body, not necessarily just laying on a bench and pushing weight. We're trying to be athletic here and build real strength and mobility. And then there's the nutrient component, where if you're not eating right, well, certainly you're not going to get the training results that you'd like. So definitely eating nutrient-dense foods, like we mentioned before, is the optimum fuel I found for myself to perform at a high level exercise 5 times a week at very high intensity.
I also like what Dr. McDougall says. It's a very important point here, that you don't grow muscle by eating more protein, more animal protein, because incorporating animal protein into your diet doesn't necessarily transform into muscle.
100%.
So if you eat more cows and chicken, whatever, eggs, doesn't mean that you're going to have more muscle.
Right,
more,
not at all.
Not at all. Because all this excess protein actually is metabolized in the liver and then excreted through your kidneys, So it's so easy to overdo on protein. It doesn't work this way.
Right.
So it's not that you have to eat harder, you have to work harder.
Absolutely.
And growing muscle.
That's right.
So you got to eat more food in general. Just more food, more calories. This is how you grow muscle.
Right. Together with the training.
Together with the training, of course. Definitely. I know that you're not using protein powders.
Correct.
How is that can be possible?
So it's very possible. I used to use protein powder before I had a transition towards healthy eating, back when I was a personal trainer in New Jersey, and I experienced what that was like, and I've done research into it. So this is the thing with protein powder. It's a fad. People are really, really into it. However, you have to understand that there is no regulation of what they're able to put in. The FDA doesn't regulate it. So they're able to put in all sorts of synthetic or very concentrated non-whole foods or poorly sourced ingredients. Now, as long as they meet the numbers that they're looking for on the back of the label, they're not really very concerned about the source at all. Now, on top of that, I found that compared to where I was then and where I am now, it didn't help me build any more muscle or be stronger or any more athletic. In fact, it made me more lumbering, slower in my movements, have less energy. And it took me longer to recover from exercise to exercise. Now, yes, people that tend to use it tend to have this bigger look, a more swollen look, but that doesn't translate into real strength or athleticism.
It's true. That's true. That's very true. Actually, there is no reliable scientific research that protein powders work.
Correct.
It's just
Correct.
our preconception. It's, you know, this is what we want to believe in.
Correct.
And even those athletes who go for, let's say they want to be plant-based, they go for plant-based protein powders.
Right.
It's really it's just foolish. Yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't work this way. On top of it, I must say that excess protein, if you eat protein in the diet, you get plenty
Absolutely.
of protein.
Absolutely.
On top of it, if you add some sort of protein powder or protein supplement, you are getting too much protein. Yes, and it leads to many consequences. For example, you know about this IGF-1, right?
Sure.
The growth hormone.
It's a life growth factor one.
Right. So when you eat protein raises this IGF-1, which actually gives growth not only to the muscle but also to the cancer cells
Correct.
in the body.
Tumors, yeah.
So it's very dangerous to do that. In addition, too much protein converts to atherosclerosis, osteoporosis, because our bones become
Right.
brittle.
It's a big misconception.
It's a big misconception. Yes, more protein. Actually, the cause of osteoporosis is overload on protein
Wow.
in the diet, because that depletes the calcium deposits in the bones, because we need calcium to break down
Right.
protein and remove it through the kidneys. And then people get prone to constipation
Oh, boy.
because protein doesn't have enough fiber.
Right.
So it's not a balanced food. It lacks fiber, and that's what we need mostly in our diet. And we get it through plants.
Right.
Yeah, plant-based protein is much better because it's bound with fiber.
Correct. One thing that I'd like to add is that it tends to be that the meat protein or the protein powder is very low in micronutrients and minerals and phytochemicals. These are the
Correct.
things that we're lacking. We're not lacking in fat. We're not lacking in calories or in protein.
Correct. Where do you get your calories from?
Calories, well, from a plethora of sources. Some of the foods that are more calorie dense would be obviously things like whole grains, like bread, whole wheat bread, sweet potatoes, nuts, seeds. These are the type of foods that I guess I would get my higher concentration of calories. But you get calories from many sources, even bananas, strawberries, they all add up, and even mushrooms and greens add a little bit to the mix.
Do you ever crave meat?
So when I started in the very beginning, yes, for sure. I think that there's emotional attachment to certain comforting feelings that we got when we ate it. Either because that's the way we were raised, we have good family memories,
Exactly.
and also we like to, when we're having a difficult day or we're lack of energy, our evolutionary body craves certain basic components. I think fat and high caloric intake, such as empty calories. It's kind of like a drug for our body that it uses to survive. However, unfortunately, it's abused the way that food is made nowadays when it's concentrated and processed. You get an overload of these calories, an overload of the fat, and that feeds our receptors in our brain and makes us feel happy. So in terms of the cravings, yes, in the beginning, but as you wean yourself off of that, just with anything that you depend on, you tend not to desire it. And sometimes I'm training somebody and I see an apple or an orange on their table and I just gravitate towards it because now that's what I enjoy.
So don't crave meat anymore.
No, not
That's
anymore,
great.
but
That's
definitely in the
awesome.
beginning.
In the beginning,
Yeah.
for sure. Everyone goes through these cravings in the beginning, especially if we grew up with this
Right.
food. Yeah, we tend to do that. How are you successful with your clients in terms? Do you recommend them to go on a plant-based diet?
Great personal question.
Yeah, and how is that success in that regard?
Right. So definitely, I know that to meet the best success that they're capable of, it would certainly help them. However, I appreciate that anybody who's trying to exercise and took that step already, I'm super proud of them and they deserve commendation. So that alone, I think, is an excellent step. However, if people are open to it, which many people are, and on different levels, going ahead and eating a nutritarian diet or eating foods that are nutrient dense help their exercise, help their mood, their productivity, and how they see themselves.
Very good. So it's good to know. It's good to hear that many people are open to
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Even some community leaders as well, such as the Feldmans, have really taken on this partially before me, very, very much so before me, and even a little extra after me. And feel free to talk to them.
I think let's talk more about the details
Sure.
of your lifestyle in terms of nutrition. Can you give us some examples of what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Absolutely. I can give you breakfast and lunch pretty easily, but for dinner you might have to turn to my wife. But for breakfast, I'm a creature of habit. So what I really like to do is have what's called oatmeal. I like to have a big heaping bowl of oatmeal, and I pour in it 2 bananas. I pour in it half a bag of cherries when they're in season. Now there's no cherries anymore, so I'm pouring in grapes in there, and together with raw slivered almonds, pecans, walnuts, any raw nut that I can get my hands on. That's usually my breakfast. Now I used to put on a little glaze of agave nectar, but what I found is that as I move more and more towards eating nutrient-dense foods, that taste isn't the same as what it was to me. Now it tastes a little cloyingly sweet. I don't enjoy it, so I stopped implementing it. As for lunch, I really enjoy avocado toast. So just a whole grain piece of, really like half a loaf of bread, to be honest, and put it in the toaster. Smear some avocado on it, or some red pepper spread, and a whole bag of salad on there as well. And I just really feast.
Easy.
Yeah,
Very
it's
easy.
very simple. Oh, it takes me like 2-3 minutes.
Okay, so when dinner is served, do
Okay.
you see what's on the plate? Can you describe some of
Can
the
I
things?
describe? Can I see? Yeah. Now I'm not as qualified as this as my wife. She really is the driver behind some of the big meals that we eat. However, I picked up a thing or two. So that being said, one of the things that we really enjoy is a Buddha bowl. So it's a big bowl filled with beans, sweet potatoes that are baked with some spices on it, brown rice, avocado, kale, like kind of toast kale a little bit, and we throw peppers. We throw all sorts of stuff in there. And Adina actually, she makes her own hummus and tahina homemade, and we drizzle that on top, and it's just very filling, and it just feels great.
Can you say that you ever feel bored with your food, or you ever feel hungry?
So in the very beginning, yes. In the very beginning, I just didn't have recipes. We not me, my wife, we didn't know what to do. But as we learned and we found that we can look on YouTube, we can look on the internet, and certain friends supported us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a shout out to Eric Acklin for supporting us at first with recipes, and then it becomes exciting. I mean, there's actual new dishes that are being made, stuff that I never envisioned before.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always trying new vegetables, new fruits. I mean, there's hundreds at the World Cob market. The whole thing is filled with new ingredients. It's exciting.
Because you look very excited about this, very inspired personal trainer who is plant-based. Do you talk to people about it a lot?
Well, definitely if they're interested. I'd love to talk about it, and I love to help people because I've seen the type of difference it can make in other people's lives as well as my life, as well as help people get over disease and prevent disease and get fit and healthy. So if definitely somebody's interested, then we have a great time, we talk about it. If not, I try to taper it in little by little or however much they'd like, and if not, move on.
Yeah, here we have to be very sensitive,
True.
In that in that regard, because would you agree we are plant-based people? We are a minority here in this world, because we'll probably always be the minority, and therefore surrounded by people with other mentality, we go through certain difficulties. What are some of those difficulties for you?
Excellent question. I think that a lot of people struggle with the transition period because I think that if they could skip to the middle, like people have a goal to be healthy. Everybody knows they want to eat some kale, they want to eat peppers, they want to eat legumes and whole grains. They know that's a positive thing, but it's hard to transition yourself from the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of like it's almost like a lusty feeling to eat that fried food or to eat that meat steak sandwich or whatever. So to kind of transition to enjoying plants and vegetables and fruits is definitely a process, and it's also a mental process. It's not just your desire. There's things, neurons in your brain that want you to go back to eating those foods that feed those dopamine receptors, even though they aren't healthy for you.
Let's talk a little bit more about what you do.
Sure.
As a personal trainer, what do you specialize in more? Weight loss or bodybuilding, or who do you specialize in? Do you train more women, children, men, elder people?
So my general philosophy is to try to get a complete picture of strength, athleticism, healthy weight level for the person, which oftentimes does include weight loss, to make sure that the movements are athletic and they are effective in real time. So they're not just sitting on a machine and just pushing a weight and then just trying to reach a certain weight there, but it doesn't translate over into heart health, or doesn't translate over into real plausible goals, like making sure that you lose your lower back pain and to heal that nagging knee or a rotator cuff problem, or even a postural problem with anterior pelvic tilt, or all sorts of, or winging scapula, or all sorts of things that hold people back. I try to improve those functions, and to make them, to build a foundation that they can build muscle, strength, athleticism, and health on. Now, I do train all sorts of people, so men, women, elderly, and young. Everybody has impressive physique that's available for them, regardless of where they've been or what stage they're at. And we work together, and my clients put in a lot of hard work, and thank God they meet with success.
Excellent. I think now the time came to talk more about the giveaway that we prepared for people. So let's announce it.
Sure. So what we're gonna do is that anybody who sees this, or just comment or message me, everybody's gonna get $35 off their first session. You can give this away to somebody else. Any new client, just enjoy that, and gift from me to you, just as a way to help maybe push you forward and make a positive decision for your health.
So once again, I just wanted to say it again. If you watch this program in the recording, it is a recorded version, so you are welcome to contact Shimon Weissman for a personal training session. $35 off. He'll come to your house.
Yes.
And he'll do it for you, with you, a training session. You'll have to live in Atlanta, Georgia to take advantage of this offer. If you watch the program, you can contact FBSN, you can contact me, or you can contact Shimon Weissman directly to redeem this offer. Now, I think our program came to the end. And before we end, we usually let our guests leave our audience with very positive thoughts, some just, a valuable message. What would be the valuable message from you?
So I feel that a lot of people have excellent goals for themselves, for health, nutrition, success, and I feel it's a very noble goal. And I feel that a lot of times people let the small things in life get in the way and tell them that, oh, I'm too busy to exercise, or in my particular situation, it's impossible to eat healthy. Just my surroundings are too difficult. So what I would say is that we have an incredibly powerful human ability, which is called imagination. We can actually see something before it's possible. We can visualize, and I want you to step with me for a moment, and I want you to envision in your mind what it would look like for you to be successful, what you would feel like when you eat well, 5-6 months down the road, how you would look like when you do incredible exercise regimen. I want you to visualize that and go over it again and again, and the hard times are going to come when they push you off and you get knocked down and you forget that you even had a positive vision to do something. So I would ask you to hold on to that vision and bring it back, and let that be what brings you back up.
Very excellent message. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add to this that nutrition and fitness are very biggest parts of the whole scope of the health goal that you probably set for yourself in this new year. And I want you to stay focused with your goal. Stay on the wave of health and be with us. We'll be back to you next week. Thank you.